It's a classic love story. Team meets boy, boy impresses team, team and boy enter a $250 million agreement for the next half decade. Franchise quarterbacks and their teams are, in a sense, married to each other. Some have beautiful relationships like Josh Allen and the Bills or Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Others are on much rockier ground. All my friends and I stopped going to Tua and Mike's place for game night. It's too depressing.
I think the positive is that that was a miserable experience.
For quarterbacks and teams, the courting process happens over games of telephone between agents and staffers. Maybe a coy invitation inside one's facilities. And fellas, we all know what they're hinting at with that invite. Later, if it all feels right, the team slides a note across the table. It's doused in the scent of Roger Goodell and has the words, "Will you marry me?" scrawled across it, with little kissy lips next to the dotted line. But the thing that's different between quarterback team love and a traditional relationship, the only thing that's different, is that they're forced to sign this marriage contract before they've ever even had a proper first date. Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Joe Flacco, Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, and Russell Wilson all switched teams this summer, and they all debuted with their new partners this past Sunday. In this video, we'll review those performances and gauge how successful this marriage looks in the early goings. The Colts have been trying to make things work with Anthony Richardson for a couple years. They told themselves they could grow old together. But then Richardson was only around like half the time, and the few times he was around, he'd be too tired to take them out and do something exciting. Enter Daniel Jones, who went 22 for 29 for 272 yards, 1 passing touchdown, 2 more on the ground, and no interceptions in his Colts debut versus the Miami Dolphins. It was the kind of date that had Shane Steichen texting him not even an hour after it ended, saying he'd love to see him again. And why not? Jones did exactly that thing Steichen's been begging for his partner to do for years now. Get the ball out on time, keep the team on schedule, and let me keep dialing it up. As a team, the Colts averaged 4.7 yards to go on third down, the second lowest mark of week 1 behind only the Packers. And they completely dominated time of possession with nearly 39 minutes, the best of the weekend. Jones kept the chains moving, especially in the first half. Here's a play on 4th and 1, late in the second quarter. In a tight formation with a bunch of Dolphins swimming up to the line, Jones changes the play to spread them out. By doing so, we see the safety that just came down back off. The Miami pressure comes from the opposite side, and Jones dumps this one down to Josh Downs, entering the open space. Calm, cool, and in control. No doubt, Jones had a great game, arguably the best of his career, and his passer rating in one start was better than anything Richardson posted in 15. But he's still got his flaws, and it's hard to know where this Miami defense actually stands. He'll still stare down receivers and still give defenders chances to jump out routes and hooks. The honeymoon could quickly end in a fight. So, he's less Mr. Right and more Mr. Right now. But I know one thing's for sure. His 75.9% completion percentage is an absolute breath of fresh air in Indianapolis. The Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers are under no pretenses that this relationship is anything other than a fling. But part of the fun of a fling is making your ex jealous with it.
You spoke about the meeting with Aaron Glenn on McAfee a few months ago. Beating him, is there significance in that, since he basically told you to your face that he didn't think you were right for that team?
Yes, that's what he did.
So there's significance in beating him for you?
I was happy to beat everybody associated with the Jets.
Still, it's hard to imagine New York really cared that much about what Rodgers had going on specifically. See, you can't talk about Rodgers' debut without also mentioning Justin Fields, the quarterback on the opposite sideline who had a fling of his own with Pittsburgh last year. The two players swapped teams and played in a surprisingly good 34-32 thriller where both sides can feel like they made the right choice with who they settled down with for 2025. On the Rodgers side, I understand Pittsburgh fans believing this thing might just go the distance, stand the test of time, grow even older together. He went 22 for 30 for 244 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks. Those 4 touchdowns in a single game were more than Pittsburgh notched in any game last season with a mix of Fields and Russell Wilson. Jets head coach Aaron Glenn might point out that one of those was a jet sweep, but Rodgers would absolutely say it still counts. The most important thing, though, was that a lot of the time, he still looked like Aaron Rodgers, and he can still make fantastic decisions and off-platform throws to the open guy under pressure, like here. But I chose to show this play because I think moments like this, and the 17-point fourth quarter he put up, cloud our view just a little of how great this marriage will be. Like when you first start talking to someone and they seem so great, but then time goes on and you start to learn more about them. It's still good, it's just sometimes worse. And then if the guy starts airing out your dirty laundry on Pat McAfee, it can get really bad. So there's that great off-platform throw with pressure in his face, but that wasn't the norm. He graded as the 27th best quarterback under pressure via PFF and was sacked 4 times, tying the 3rd highest total in week 1. My biggest Rodgers ick is just how slow he looks. There's very little mobility left in his game, so he'll be reliant on this offensive line protecting him and the running game to keep defenses honest. If that doesn't happen, he may wonder if he should have just stayed single this season. As for Fields, this was arguably the best game of his career. He went 16 for 22 for 218 yards, 1 touchdown, and tacked on 48 rushing yards and 2 more scores the old-fashioned way, with hard work. And no matter where he goes, everyone says he's a natural-born leader. The Jets' parents are already calling him son. And look, are the Jets happy? Yes, totally. For now. Will they have some curious eyes for other talent at some point? I think that's only natural. And it's not to take away from Fields' day. It was a game New York should have won. They beat Pittsburgh in time of possession by 9 minutes, outgained them by 120 yards, and went into the fourth quarter with a 9-point lead. Xavier Gibson fumbled to start the fourth quarter, led to a quick Steelers score, and it was all downhill from there. But Fields looked really good. He even ripped a few darts through the middle of the defense, looking very confident at times, like here. But there were more than a few passes he got away with in this game. Late throws while escaping the pocket, where defenders can read his eyes and jump on the ball. Here was one about midway through the second quarter to Tyler Johnson, where it's a great gain but feels like one he possibly got away with. As the year goes on, watch for defenses to bait Fields into late or predetermined throws and make plays on them. The same issue doomed his relationship with the Steelers despite going 4-2 in his 6 starts. But the Jets may be more committed to him than his ex ever was. They gained 182 rushing yards as a team, good for 4th most in the league, and racked up 13 first downs on the ground. Rather than try to fix him, they may work with his flaws through a dynamic running game. New York appears like the most supportive partner Fields has had. I'm rooting for them. The Raiders should be smitten with Geno Smith, just staring out the window, absent-mindedly signing Mrs. Raiders Smith over and over again in their notebook. Type shit. Maybe it sounds like I'm making too much out of his day. He went 24 for 34 for 362 yards, a touchdown and a pick, but through most of it, he looked good. Really good. One thing Smith is so good at is hanging tough in the pocket and still slanging absolute ropes. Here's one early in the third quarter where he fits this ball in between 4 defenders to his receiver. And this wasn't a one-off thing either. Over and over, he fit passes into tight windows. And for the Raiders, whose dating history has been rough the past few years with the final season of Derek Carr and mixtures of Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell, and Gardner Minshew, Smith brings a refreshing air of competency. Case in point, his 362 passing yards was the most in a Raiders debut ever. Talk has been that the Raiders entered a higher level of maturity and professionalism with new head coach Pete Carroll, minority owner Tom Brady, weird, I thought he was white, and Geno Smith. Geno is the guy that had some fiery moments in his past. Maybe you've heard rumors of him getting into fights, but he's had years to work on himself and put that behind him. Now he understands the most important in any relationship is himself. Because if you don't love yourself, how can you love an NFL franchise and lead them to the playoffs? Things weren't perfect, of course, no relationship is. In the first half, the Raiders had 3 straight 3-and-outs and got behind 10-7. But I think their offense will only look more cohesive as the relationship grows and he continues building chemistry with his receivers. After one date, I'm the most confident in this new relationship lasting the longest. The Browns and Joe Flacco have been married before. They got together in 2023 when Cleveland's spouse at the time tore his Achilles. Usually when one partner finds someone new while the other is unwell, we put our sympathy behind the person being abandoned, in sickness and in health. But what if I told you that abandoned partner had been accused by 24 different women of sexual assault? God, I love being a Browns fan. Flacco and the Browns are married again this year, but Joe is again positioned more as an affair. A fun, temporary side piece of relief inside a broken Cleveland home. Because even though he put up 290 yards, a touchdown, and 2 fluke interceptions on 31 for 45 passing in his debut, there's the undeniable fact that he is 40. How could the Browns expect him to be there for their kids? Flacco and the Browns played well enough to beat Cincinnati, but a missed chip shot field goal and extra point doomed them to their 0-1 destiny. Still, Cleveland's offense may actually look okay as long as Flacco is back there. He can still rip passes through the middle of the field to his receivers, like here in the third quarter to Cedric Tillman. But I think he was most impressive in keeping drives alive with smart decisions while using the passing game as an extension of the run game. The Browns rushed for just 49 yards on 24 attempts, but Cleveland still found ways to march down the field and hold onto the ball. They had drives lasting 9 minutes and 50 seconds and 7 minutes and 40 seconds. The longest Bengals drive came in at only 7 minutes and 28 seconds. The Browns are going to have a thin margin of error to win any game this year. If they can own the time of possession consistently, they'll give opposing offenses less opportunities against a rested and very talented defense. It's not always going to work, but at least there's a roadmap. And that's basically why Flacco and the Browns are together. Love the one you got because it could be much, much worse. So, the Sam Darnold era got off to a rocky, weird start in Seattle, huh? It's a first date that's hard to make anything of. On the one hand, his 16 for 23, 150-yard day looks efficient, and he graded as the 4th best quarterback via PFF for Week 1, and even drove his team down the field in the final 2 minutes off some incredible throws to the team's best receiver for a chance to win it. On the other hand, he had just 99 passing yards going into that last drive, the team went 3 for 10 on 3rd down, and with 37 seconds left on a 2nd and 5 from San Francisco's 9, he got strip sacked to end the game without a chance to throw for the end zone. And yet, the broadcast team was still saying that Sam Darnold was doing exactly what he was brought there to do. When the Seahawks thought of their dream guy, he was 6'3", 225 pounds, and could manage a football game behind a good running attack and great defense. Make the right read, kill them on play action. The total package. But Seattle ran 26 times for 84 yards and averaged just 3.2 per attempt. That's a combo of the 13th most attempts, 20th most yards, and 23rd best average. Darnold got only 2 attempts off play action, where he completed 1 pass for 21 yards to Jackson Smith and Jigba, who, fun fact, caught 9 of his 16 completions this game. So, could Darnold have done more to impress in his debut? Yes, and the fumble is obviously very frustrating. But the Seahawks also didn't give him many chances. If this relationship has any chances of working, they'll need to learn from it together. As always, communication is key. Well, that first date was a disaster. Russell Wilson went 17 for 37 for 168 yards, no touchdowns or picks, and a 59.3 passer rating, worse than any mark he received in 2024. As a result, the Giants put up the fewest points of the weekend and looked miserable in a 21-6 loss to the Washington Commanders. Wilson is the guy who dresses nice, opens the door for you, and picks a nice restaurant, but everything in between lacks any sort of spark or chemistry. He's still capable of a nice play in a vacuum, like this pretty pass off play action to pick up a nice gain, but he isn't putting together full games or even full drives at this point in his career. His 28.2% success rate ranked 31st, the team went 4 for 16 on 3rd downs, and they couldn't punch the ball in on either of their red zone attempts. Inside Washington's 20, Wilson completed only 2 of his 9 passes for 12 yards. All Sunday, there were just too many moments you could rubberneck at Russ and the Giants' first date and see red flags. Wilson's biggest ick is that he thinks he can still do things he just can't anymore, like the sidearm attempt from early in the second quarter. But according to head coach Brian Daboll, the Giants and Russ are staying together for the kid, Jackson Dart, for 1 more week at least. Daboll is texting Dart on the side and Wilson knows it. We all know it. It's only a matter of time before they swap places. So why the hesitancy? Well, like Dable said, the loss isn't fully on Russ. The offensive line allowed 17 pressured dropbacks, 37.8% of Russ's total dropbacks, and the run game was stuck in mud, averaging just 3.2 per attempt. So while he did have the worst debut out of anyone, his team also didn't do him a ton of favors. It's not just you, it's also a little bit of me. In any case, until the Giants work on themselves and feel confident they aren't starting this new relationship on a rocky foundation, they'll continue white-knuckling their relationship with Wilson. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please remember to give it a like if you did enjoy it, and consider subscribing to the channel so you can catch the next one. Thanks, bye.